Yes. Thank you. It's good.
We have to leave. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm now calling this meeting to order. We have online tonight, we have Megan, Olga, and Marianne. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Is there any further discussion? Can you guys hear me okay out there with the microphone? No? How about, is that better? Can you guys hear me now there? Okay. Sorry, is there any further discussion? Okay, I move this to a roll call vote, please.
Bree Coffee.
Aye.
Marianne Duncan Cole.
Aye.
Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Christy Morgan.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
We move to approve the motion is adopted. We move to approve the December 15th agenda as approved. We are going to move straight into public comments. You will have 2 minutes to speak. We will take up to 1 hour to hear comments. No clapping or noise during or between speakers. Please no inappropriate language. Be respectful of one another. You're going to stand here on the red xylophone carpet and speak into the microphone. Please direct your comments up to us and not back to the audience. Please no playing of recordings or videos. And when you come up, just say your name into the microphone before you begin. Tonight, we're going to alternate between in-person and online comments. I imagine we're going to take the full hour. So if you're done early, we can get more people in. And if you and someone else are saying the same thing, you can maybe, have one spokesperson so we can get more comments. So we can go ahead and begin.
Milton Jones.
Hello? Yes. Marianne, you need to mute yourself because public comment has started.
Therefore, those who dislike the words equity and equitable will be treated with equity, heard and responded to, and those who don't mind equity and equitable will be provided with a reasonable substitute. Thank you for your attention.
Before we go on, there's some issues with what they're hearing online. Can you test, please?
You can see that the audio is muting periodically. I will just watch it and unmute when.
Okay.
Great. Next up online will be Catherine Gardner.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Gardner, pronoun she, her, and I'm a resident of Vancouver. Information to all members of the community. Public libraries do so regardless of their patrons' socioeconomic status, their race, their gender, their language. A library meets and supports its patrons at the level they are at. Per the American Library Association, quote, equity means considering differences to ensure a fair process and outcome. Equity within the library is represented in countless ways. Some examples include materials in a variety of languages, rural locations, and even streaming these board meetings so all FVRL patrons can participate. To hear that certain members of the board are chomping at the bit to eliminate word equity from the strategic plan is a disgrace to the purpose of a public library, especially when it is truly the perfect word to describe a library's purpose and goals. At this point in time, its potential removal feels politically motivated, and to pretend that it's not is disingenuous at best, harmful to the integrity of this library system at worst. Removing the word equity from the strategic plan will not erase the diversity of FVRL's patrons and their overall credibility. A board that allows that in the interests of all community members.
So we're having obviously some internet connection issues, it appears. Is that correct, Lucian? I'm going to interrupt because
Is it on our end?
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Her side.
It's on her side.
Her-
So Catherine, we're having issues hearing you. So I would suggest that you send in a prepared statement at this point to the trustees at FVRL.org.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jamie Bear.
Make sure it's turned on. I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Good evening, trustees chair, the library board, our executive director. My name is Jamie Bear. My pronouns are they, them. I am a Vancouver resident, a public librarian with 15 years of experience, and president of Ask Me Local 307L. I'm here to speak to this board on how you can honor the community's vote to expand access to information. Intellectual freedom is rooted in the Library Bill of Rights. It was adopted in 1939 in response to censorship and intolerance. It affirms that American libraries provide access to a broad range of ideas without political pressure. In 1995, FVRL's Board of Trustees earned a national award for defending intellectual freedom. 30 years later, it risks dismantling it. I was surprised to hear this board question the definition of intellectual freedom at the last board meeting. Intellectual freedom ensures access without bias, while parents guide their own children. Restricting access for all youth is not protection, it is restriction. The proposed changes limit access rather than preserve choice. Equity ensures all community members can meaningfully use library services by meeting people where they are. It does not privilege one group over another. Equity and intellectual freedom are inseparable. Equity ensures access, intellectual freedom ensures access to the full range of ideas. Our community voted across our service area, and their decision was to expand access, not restrict it. Removing equity and weakening intellectual freedom contradicts that mandate. Third, the facilities plan projects a 35% population growth, increasing demand for staff-delivered services like circulation, reference, programming, and outreach. Yet between 25 and 26, the personnel budget rose in dollars, but fell as a share of the total budget, showing staffing is being deprioritized as capital spending grows. As FVRL expands buildings and services, who will provide that access if living wages for library workers are not adequately funded?
Next online, we will have James Tyndall.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. My name is James Tyndall, a resident of Houston. I am a retired nationally certified school librarian and an active member of the Pacific Northwest Library Association and the American Library Association. Public libraries are institutions where democracy reigns, where everyone who enters is welcome to use the resources. This is equity, which is about fairness. This library system offers access regardless of race or creed or sexual orientation. Equitable access is a self-evident need is witnessed in the mission statements of libraries across our nation, where we Americans are endowed with certain unalienable rights, which includes access to information. Libraries are not a place of censorship. Libraries are neither churches, nor political parties, nor a nuclear family. Fort Vancouver Regional has long been a national leader in this respect. I want to commend the NCAC for adhering to the values and the ideals of the Library Bill of Rights in its visioning to serve all patrons equally. Regarding terms, equitable access, for instance, is in fact, most words have connotative meanings. That is inevitable. Watering down language to drive an agenda only invites an erosion of fairness for all. Connotative meanings are largely concerns of individuals. Institutions must write their policies and contracts using the weight and precision of a word's denotative meaning. A favorite library t-shirt of mine reads, "My library has something to offend everyone." If I am a Luddite, should I be able to win a ban on computer manuals and computers from my library? While in a perfect world, parents talk to their children about 100 issues around growing up, this is not a perfect world, and children come to the library for answers to questions that they do not receive at home.
Next up, we have Kaylin R.
Can you hear me?
No.
Is this works? No. No. There you go. Right now. You're good? Okay. My name is Kaylin. I work for FVRL and I'm part of the WPEA union. I'll be talking about concerns with the 2026 budget. I noticed that a huge portion, nearly 11 million of the increase in funds from the levy is being moved to the capital budget for buildings. Meanwhile, money for wages is only increased enough to cover the bare minimum of anticipated wage increases. Instead of proactively doing the right thing to give all FVRL employees a living wage, the percentage of operations budget going towards compensation is going down from 67% this year to 64% for next year. That makes FVRL have the lowest amount of its revenue going towards wages than any other library system in our state. Our starting rate is already being threatened by minimum wage again, and instead of wanting to pay employees a living wage like a good employer, this proposal shows that FVRL does not prioritize the livelihood of its staff. It is forcing the unions to have to fight for every single cent, even though FVRL has enough wealth to pay every single employee a living wage and more. It is insulting that only 2.8 million of your 25 million surplus is going towards wages in 2026. I do not want to have to come up here every 2 or 3 years to tell y'all that wages being paid are not enough. We have several staff that have had 2 or more jobs to survive. You were right in the last meeting when you said FRL shouldn't follow some trends. You should be the first in something. Why not be the leading first library that pays staff a living wage instead of the lowest wage you could propose? Please do not accept the budget proposal as it is, as it's insufficient in supporting the lifeblood of the library, its employees. Thank you.
Next up online, we will be Sue Pennington. Sue, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sue Pennington from White Salmon. For priorities that guide this library organization into the future, most can agree that access to library services ought to be fair and just, and in ways that consider and seek to address existing inequalities. We want to promote fairness and justice in the way all people are treated. You just heard definitions of equitable and equity according to Oxford and Merriam-Webster. The terms are simple and clear. not ambiguous, certainly not exclusionary. They capture important values that also emerged out of community input that informs the strategic planning process. I reviewed equity definitions in several other dictionaries as well. Nowhere did I see reference to outcomes or equal starting points. As for political implications, not applicable here. Politics come and go. The business at hand is shaping a strategic plan that guides fair and excellent district library services over time. The board can choose not to engage in a cultural war that, in this case, is distracting and will benefit no one. Words do matter. Equity and intellectual freedom stand alone. These core public library values are essential to upholding our democracy. I urge each of you on the board to vote accordingly. Thank you.
Next up, we have Nikki Taylor in the room.
Hi, good. Can you hear me? My name is Nancy Taylor. I'm a member of the community, an employee of the library, not representing the library. I watched the video of the strategic planning video from November, and I wanted to address the concerns that were raised about using the word equity in the new strategic plan. The main points of contention that I heard were, one, finding an alternative for the word equity. Two, the discomfort around naming the word equity when internal equities like wages still exist, and confusion about what equity actually means. There is a reason that no alternative word fits. Equity names something specific: intentional care, moral responsibility, and accountability to difference. Words like fairness or access describe outcomes, but equity describes obligation. It is the word that asks us to notice who is missing and why. Internal inequities, like pay inequity and wage inequity, deserve serious attention and conversation, but removing equity from the strategic plan does not resolve that. It only lowers the standard that we are asking ourselves to meet. Language creates culture, and when we stop naming equity, we stop organizing ourselves around it. Keeping the word does not claim perfection, but it declares our direction. And because we're in a library, the definition in the dictionary for equity is the quality of being fair and impartial. Thank you.
Next up online will be Quill Onstead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hi, my name is Quill Onstead, and my pronouns are they, them. I'm here to speak in support of Drag Queen Story Hour and equity as a genderqueer member of the library community. Last month, Board Chair Morgan repeatedly asked what equity looks like for FVRLibraries. FVRLibraries has a definition of equity included in the glossary for its equity policy. If the board feels it's time to update the definition, then I'm sure the Equity Committee would be happy to take a look. Equity is this: community members being able to participate even when we can't attend meetings in person. It's not forcing board members Duncan, Cole, and Hodges to make 4-hour drives once a month to attend meetings. It's the depth and breadth of programs available across the district. Equity has never been about excluding other groups. Equity welcomes everyone. It cannot be used to say, to include us, you need to exclude them. If someone looks at the books and programs on offer and says, I am not welcome because other people are, then that is their choice. The library will still be there for everyone and will not treat them differently based on what books or programs they do or do not check out. Drag Queen Story Hour programs are equity in action. It's holding out a hand to the marginalized queer communities and saying, come in, you are recognized and you are welcome. You will not be turned away or shunned. It's showing that drag queens and trans kids and queer people are just part of the vast diversity the human race has to offer. Parents who disagree with this do not have to bring their children to Drag Queen Story Hour programs. Equity is not something with a finish line. Equity demands that systems of power continually interrogate themselves about who has been left behind or excluded and how to do better in the future. Just because something can't be fixed with one policy or one budget line item doesn't mean you don't keep trying. We are not obligated to finish the work, but neither are we free to desist from it. Please allow the staff of FVRL Libraries to present Drag Queen Story Hour and have the district live up to the ideals espoused in FVRL Libraries' equity statement. Thank you for your service to the community.
Jacob, Ovicism, I'm sorry. Sorry. That was our last online comment. So Jacob will be followed by Veronica Jans, followed by Catherine Ernest.
Yeah, hear me. Katie? Hello, my name is Jake Osmus, and I'm speaking to you today in regards to the call the board has made to censor the word equity from our strategic planning and goals. In your code of ethics, you're obligated to support, this is a direct quote, support FVRL efforts to meet the library and information needs of all patrons. This in and of itself is the definition of equity and informational freedom. We do not as a district follow trends. When it comes to the public's access of our system, equity is not a loaded word unless you allow it to be. We uphold the freedom of informational access to all, unfettered, while cultivating a space that everyone can access regardless of their background. You also agreed in your code of ethics to, quote, maintain independent judgment without regard to personal benefit, special interests, or influence. At the November 17th board meeting, I did not see this. I saw personal bias opposing community feedback that the taxpayer paid into to craft this strategic plan. Your code also states that you as board members must again, quote, avoid situations in which personal interests might be served, and furthermore, disqualify themselves immediately when the appearance of a conflict of interest exists. I would end that the last version of strategic planning stated staff will be held accountable in their work, and I ask you as an employee, a union laborer, and a patron to hold yourselves accountable in regards to your code of ethics and truly listen and understand the community feedback that was given to you. Thank you.
Veronica?
I'm Veronica Jans. I would like to share about my experience growing up in a way that was different from my neighbors. My family came to the United States in the early 80s because they wanted a better life for everyone. They believed that I would pick up English easily because I was born here. So at home, I spoke only the 3 Asian languages they taught me. I went into kindergarten not speaking any English. ESL was only helpful because I was lucky enough that one person in the entire school spoke Mandarin and helped me bridge the language gap. She wasn't even part of the ESL team. She actually worked in the cafeteria, and she was my lifeline. I was behind not because I was lazy or unmotivated. I was learning English at the same time I was trying to learn everything else in the classroom. I worked twice as hard just to keep up. If we give everyone the same support, we overlook the people who need something different. Equality gives everyone the same thing. Equity ensures people get what is useful to them without taking anything away from anyone else. Equity is not a zero-sum game. Equity is hard because it asks us to let go of assumptions and biases we don't always realize we're carrying, something I learned while studying product design at Stanford University. Meaningful solutions don't start with intention, they start with empathy. Before we can practice equity, we have to practice empathy. The willingness to step into someone else's shoes to understand what they actually need instead of assuming that our own experiences are universal. The empathy Mrs. Wong showed me was the only reason why I didn't fall further behind in kindergarten. So when we treat equity like a buzzword or approach it with fear instead of curiosity, it often means the difference between surviving and thriving in the place people call home. Thank you.
Catherine Ernst? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Ernst, and I have been a member of a library district for over 30 years. After reviewing the video of the November board meeting, I am appalled and frightened by the direction this board is heading. Listening to you say that the words equitable access and equity have negative connotations absolutely boggles the mind. Any rational and compassionate person would consider these words to be positive. Equity recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. Most people would want all of our patrons to be able to use the resources that meet their needs. Despite reviewing the video multiple times, I was not able to understand why some board members disapprove of disapprove of the use of these words other than that they are political. How this is political was not made clear. I'm also concerned about the attack on intellectual freedom. I'm astonished at the hubris of some board members who feel they have the right to dictate what they consider harmful to children. I raised 4 children, and my criteria that I consider inappropriate may not be the same as other parents. I personally don't approve of young children being exposed to violently themed materials, but I regularly witness parents who were very careful to steer their children away from what they considered inappropriate topics, but cheerfully check out items with gratuitous violence. We all have the right to our own set of values, and it's not up to someone else to make that choice for us. As the director said last month, there is something to offend anyone on our shelves. I have a very simple suggestion that I follow. If I find a material to be narrow-minded and hateful, I don't check it out. Thank you.
We are going to pause for a second. I don't mind the people in the back having signs. That's fine. Everyone can see. If you have signs you want to hold up, please go stand in the back. Don't block people's views behind you, okay? You're welcome to hold them up in the back, though. That's fine. Go ahead.
Except we will have Armin Tolentino. Armin will be followed by Susan Nystorm, who will be followed by Melissa Perez.
Hello, my name is Armin Tolentino. I use he and him pronouns. I'm former poet laureate for Clark County, and I just wanted to take a moment to be here to celebrate the staff of this library system in ways they have made equity a real, tangible thing for our community. I've had the great privilege of the last 2 years joining library staff at our Clark County Juvenile Detention Center once a month, providing writing workshops for the youth incarcerated there. And I've been amazed by the way the library staff have been trusting adults for these youth in very difficult times and have resourced them with reading materials that have expanded their ability to feel empathy, their imaginations, and nurtured their hope. I can't imagine what those youth's lives would be without this library staff. And I know that's just one facet of what this amazing group of individuals does for our community. So I just want to take a moment to celebrate them. These are some dark days we're heading into, and I'm just amazed at the light that they bring for all of us.
Susan Nystorm.
Hi, I'm Susan Nystrom, and I'm a retired art teacher living here in Vancouver. A story for equity. 2 boys, they're both middle school. Yeah, that's what I taught, middle school art. And they're both the same. They're equal. They're both male. They're both white. Okay. They're both friends. They're in the same study group, so they get the same grades. One day they decide to go to a baseball game and they're both broke. And so they go over and they're by the fence. One has had that infamous growth spurt. Okay. He's quite tall and he can see right over the fence. Unfortunately, the other one hasn't gotten there yet. So he's trying to peek through the boards. Well, there's a man across the street sitting on his rocker on the porch, and he's watching and he thinks, I can solve this. He goes into his garage. He gets out a wooden crate, walks over, gives it to the boy who's vertically impaired right now because it's temporary. Boy hops up on it and he gets to enjoy the baseball game too. There's a difference between equal. They were equal. Unfortunately, temporarily, one needed a hand up, and that is what equity is.
Perez. Melissa will be followed by Andy Anady, followed by Devin Lang, followed by Janet Hedgepath.
Can you hear me?
I'm closer to the microphone.
Now, can you hear me?
Can you guys hear? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
My name is Melissa Perez, and I am a current FVRL member or employee, and I have been for almost 5 years. entirely at the mall. On August 5th, the day of the levy vote, my coworkers and I waited, hoping it would pass. We knew if the levy didn't pass, our branch had an expiration date. We had patrons coming in all day, telling us they had just dropped off their ballots and were rooting for us. The next day, when we found out the levy passed, we were able to breathe a sigh of relief. But now, as part of the new facilities master plan you're planning to adopt, there's a suggestion that both the mall and North Bonneville get turned into self-service locations. I implore you rethink that suggestion. You've already dangled the axe above our head once this year, and I cannot believe you guys would have the audacity to do it again. We may be a small branch, but we are mighty, with equity and intellectual freedom for everybody.
Andy?
Hello, my name is Andy Anity. I'd like to start off with another definition. If equality is the idea of a single solution applied to multiple issues, then equity itself is the tailored solution to individual problems. I think about it a lot when the gas tax comes up, because love it or hate it, and I think everyone hates it, it makes more sense in cities than it does in the country. In the city, places are closer to each other. People are closer to each other. In Vancouver, we've got a really robust bus system, lots of routes that run sometimes every 15 minutes. But if you go up to Yakult, there's one route and it runs 3 times a day. That's why I think that equity is really important. Because Vancouver, always going to be the loudest voice in the room. And I love Vancouver, but we have the largest population. Most of the board of trustees are here in this area. And I think it would be a terrible shame if one solution, a solution that is perfect and efficient and the shining ideal for the Vancouver branches, became a sort of burden on our smaller, more rural branches.
Devin Lang?
Hi, everyone. My name is Devin Lang. Good evening, board members. Tonight, as we discuss the upcoming voting on language that will guide this library system for years to come, I want to address 3 words in our proposed mission, vision, and values, words that matter deeply to who we are and what we do: intellectual freedom, equitable, and hub. Let me start with intellectual freedom. This principle is precisely what allows us all to be here tonight, to speak freely, to disagree, to debate. Intellectual freedom is not just a library value, it's the foundation of our democracy. The moment we begin to stymie intellectual freedom, we open the door to censorship. And censorship doesn't stop at one book or one idea. It trickles down, narrowing the scope of what people can read, learn, and think. In the United States, intellectual freedom is a privilege we must protect diligently. For libraries, it is not the peripheral, it is integral to our very existence. We are the institutions that ensure every person has access to information, to diverse perspectives, to ideas that challenge and illuminate. That is our sacred trust. Now to the word equitable. Libraries have long stood for equitable access, long before it became a buzzword, long before it entered political discourse. Our mission has always been to serve everyone: the parent who needs a quiet space for their child to read, the senior learning to navigate technology, the immigrant seeking citizenship materials, the student who has no internet at home. Equitable access means removing barriers so that everyone, regardless of income, background, or circumstance, can benefit from what the library offers. That some have politicized this word does not change its meaning or our responsibility. We are not in politics. We are in the business of service, access of community.
Janet Hedgepath? Janet will be followed by Jenny Wilkinson, followed by Carmen Getz, followed by Nerissa Eckerson.
Good evening. My name is Janet Hedgepath. At last month's meeting, there seemed to be some concern about the use of certain words in the strategic plan. Equity was called out as vague or confusing and condemned as not neutral. Equal was proposed as a substitute. Equality and equity sound very much alike, and though they are close relatives, they are not identical twins. So I would like to offer an example of how that difference plays out in an actual patron's life. So the library acquires the latest version of Lois Penny's Three Pines novel. You get to check it out for 21 days. I get to check it out for 21 days. That's equal. That's fair. What's the problem? Well, the problem is I require large print books. So I don't get to enjoy and have the same access that you have with the same book. Now, before you rush to tell me that you have no intention of taking away my large print books, and that's probably true, that's not the point. Point is that equal would allow you to take it away because you could just make everything equal, and thus I would lose my large print books. But equity allows and guarantees my access to that accommodation and to the accommodations that many of the patrons in this library need. So be careful about those words. They're not the same. Equity is not a scary or incomprehensible word. It protects all patrons in the magnificent resources that we have in our public library. Don't fall prey to the latest censorship of the political culture wars. Don't cave to the fears generated by myths and disinformation. Protect all patrons. Thank you.
Wilkerson.
Hello, Jenny Wilkerson, Foundation Executive Director, Clark County resident. The foundation receives donations because people believe in libraries. I've gotten to know our library friends and supporters, and I've witnessed a true altruism and belief that their donations are helping others. They don't give because they want a free book. They give because they want everyone in our community to have what they need to thrive. This is rooted in the library's commitment to equitable access. By stating a commitment to equitable access, this strategic plan is a living document that reflects the work happening every day. It roots the operations and the staff in their mission, but it also reflects back to the public that their funds are being used equitably to serve all. The things our donors and supporters love about our library are programs and services that are truly equity in action, like language groups for non-native English speakers, the bookmobile caring for our rural or homebound patrons, tax preparation, financial literacy, the list goes on and on. To erase this word is to devalue the very core of what our libraries provide to our communities. As a Clark County resident that grew up in in these libraries and a mother of 2 school-age kids, it would be very concerning to have a library system that does not actively acknowledge its commitment to equity and service to our community. As the leader of the foundation, I fear it will impact our ability to connect and engage with our supporters, which will lessen resources for the buildings we help build, the programs we fund, and the future levies you need us to help pass. I ask for the board to consider the impact of changing the strategic plan to reflect their beliefs. This issue is about understanding a core role of libraries, hearing the community feedback, and supporting the staff that does this work every day.
Carmen Getz.
My name is Carmen Getz. I've worked at the library for more than 8 years and was part of the last strategic planning committee. During that process, as well as in my day-to-day work at the library, I know how engaged our communities are in helping shape our spaces and services and how important it is to prioritize those voices. The very foundation of library work is based on supporting equity and intellectual freedom. Our daily work toward equitable access to our materials and services and supporting intellectual freedom is literally the lifeblood of what we do. It is simply not enough to say that all are welcome. Our patrons have clearly stated that they expect equity as a priority, and we have a commitment to honor that word and the work it entails. We have many examples of the work we are currently doing to support that mission, too many to share right now. Our patrons want to see themselves reflected in our spaces, in our collection, our programs, displays, and staff. Have we accomplished all of our goals? Never. Is there more to be done? Always. The work to remove barriers to ensure that even the most marginalized in our communities are represented and have access to our materials and services is never done. Board members voting to remove the word equity and equitable from our vision and mission statements is censorship. It would be a huge disservice to change the words and discount the priorities of those participated in the community engagement process, as well as to all who voted to support the levy lid lift. I urge the Board of Trustees to abide by their ethics and responsibilities policy to resist censorship and put aside personal beliefs to support the community's clear prioritization of equity. The board must approve the strategic priorities as written. If board members are unable to put their personal beliefs aside, I ask that they disqualify themselves immediately due to a conflict of interest as laid out in board policy.
Narissa will be followed by Randy Schmidt, followed by Gary Wilson, followed by John Wolf.
You wanna, if you untwist that part and then lift.
Carmen.
Oh.
Thank you. Love the xylophone.
There you go.
Okay, good evening. My name is Narissa Eckerson. I'm speaking to you today as an employee who is concerned about the Board of Trustees' effort to reduce equitable access in our public libraries. I first wanted to thank Trustee Mary Williams and Executive Director Jennifer Giltrop for each of their efforts to uphold our library's mission to provide equitable access for our entire community. In your meeting last month, I heard over and over how many of you take issue with the use of the word equity in our mission statement, how you would like a more neutral word used. There's a big problem with that argument, however. A mission statement is not intended to be neutral. A mission statement explains what the organization stands for. Choosing the word equality over equity is not neutral. Refusing to recognize the fault and follow the results of the community surveys is not neutral. Insisting on changing the words in our mission to better align with your personal beliefs while claiming it is anything but exclusion and censorship is not neutral. I'm very concerned that at least 3 of the board members are so comfortable with advocating for their own personal interests over the community at large. The specific members of the community you advocate for directly benefit from equitable access. The words we use matter. The community has spoken. The Fort Vancouver Regional Library District values equitable access. I implore you to uphold the responsibilities outlined for this board in the ethics and responsibilities policy and support the library's effort to provide equitable access to library services as our community at large has asked to be provided for. Thank you.
Randy Schmidt.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Randy Schmidt. At the last library board meeting, I quoted from the United States Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. For those living in the United States, these words should be self-evident, as it is the highest level of our government and social contract. We should believe that all are created, that all are equal in standing before the law, and we should all support our fellow citizens in their pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is why I speak at these board meetings in favor of protecting children from ideas that are intended to harm them, to rethink their gender, and possibly seek self-harm to change their God-given created gender. Children seeking gender change is not a pursuit of life and happiness. That is self-evident. To assist the library in the quest of educating our young children on the subject of gender, I am donating these 2 books to the FVR library system. These books, He is He, and She is She by Ryan and Bethany Bomberg teach and reinforce to our children the truth that they are the gender they were born as, and that a girl is always a girl and a boy is always a boy, to quote Mr. Rogers. To further reinforce these truths to our children and protect them from the harm and danger of the ideology of transgenderism, I request that the board pass a policy against Drag Queen Story Hour to protect the least of these, the children in our community. Thank you. Thank you.
Gary Wilson.
Gary Wilson, thank you, library board members, for your service. As always, please continue to err on the side of caution when it comes to your most vulnerable patrons, the children. And with that in mind, please continue reviewing your proposed strategic plan statement to ensure children are safeguarded. The ALA recklessly promotes intellectual freedom for everyone, which purposefully leaves children unprotected. The ALA's cop-out that it is up to the parent or guardian to police their child is enabling the abuse of children in the library. If the ALA won't be the adult in the room, then the FVRL community at large, of which I have almost 5,000 signatures, ask this board to be the adult and protect these little ones from explicit content and harmful ideologies their minds and bodies are not mature enough to handle. This is part of your fiduciary responsibility concerning the trust you are obligated with as library board members. And most of you know in your heart that these little ones need to be protected. Why does the movie industry give ratings PG, PG-13, R? Why do many authors give age restrictions on their books? Why? Because they are being the adult in the room. Also, the term equity has been used divisively recently to overemphasize some and marginalize others. Let's find a term to better represent everyone fairly and equally. Please don't shirk your duty and responsibility as representatives of your community at large. Lastly, whose idea was it to hire this firm and waste hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have been used to pay your underpaid librarians thousands of dollars each? I understand this was not the board's decision. Bless you for not rubber stamping a potentially harmful and divisive strategic plan, and thank you to those of you being the adult in the room. Merry Christmas.
John will be followed by Jessica Cole, followed by Carol Onue Matthews.
All right, thank you. My name is John Wolf, and what I'd like to say is this. No one is asking that everyone have the same thing, the equal thing. That equates one person's experience to everybody else's. Working with the public, I can assure you that not a one of us are alike to one another. We have different abilities, interests, backgrounds, advantages, barriers, needs, and interests. A good library is not equal. A good library is equitable. An equal library means we have books on topics like sexual identity, racial disparity, comprehensive history, or even how to hop on pop. An equitable library means our patrons have unfettered access to those and countless other materials. Patrons are never told they cannot access them simply because of their content or because it offends somebody else. They are not placed on a shelf behind a locked glass cabinet. They are certainly not banned outright. Falling back on the word equal or equality can be a convenient crutch, a pantomime, a show of false philanthropy. Living to a standard of equity means we continue to do the work, improving and striving for equity, though we may never truly reach it. There is more we can do to ensure our libraries offer equitable access to information. We should be discussing how to promote our audio and large print materials, or how we can put more Braille materials onto our shelves. We should be discussing how to fund ongoing programs and exploring new, bold program ideas to encourage lifelong learning, strengthen our communities, and improve our patrons' lives. But we appear to need to brush up on our vocabulary before we put a plan into action. So, in the spirit of equity, I would inform you that the Oxford English dictionaries can be found under Dewey Decimal Classification number 423.1, reference section, 4th floor of this very building. Thank you.
Jessica Cole.
Hello, my name is Jessica Cole, and the Battleground is my local branch. I'm asking the board to keep the word equity in the strategic plan. As someone who lives in a semi-rural area, I don't have the same programs that a large branch like Vancouver can offer. Expecting every branch to be identical is equality, but what actually serves people like me is equity. Programs and services designed in ways that remove barriers. For example, I participate in 2 library groups that offer online or hybrid options. I often can't attend in person because of distance, but because the library offers a remote option, I can be part of it. That is equity in action. It's not political. It's simply thoughtful, responsive service. Nearly 25 community members and staff helped shape this plan. Removing the word now would misrepresent both the process and the mission of a district that serves urban and rural communities alike. Equity belongs in the strategic plan because it describes what our libraries already do and what our communities need. Thank you very much.
Carol, Henri Matthews? Sorry if I mispronounced.
Hello, my name is Carol Inoue Matthews, and I live in Vancouver. I've worked in libraries in the past. I love this library for what it does and represents. There's knowledgeable and helpful staff, and so many resources available for us to use freely, like the Library of Things. You can borrow a sewing machine, a bird watching kit, a drill, a GoPro camera, to name just a few. Best Buy is not going to lend me a GoPro camera for 3 weeks with up to 2 renewals. I think this is what equity looks like, the Library of Things. I think this one collection is an example of equitable access in practice. You're doing equity, making resources available to community members who may not have the means to try out something new or to learn a new skill, or for anyone just to borrow something useful they don't own. Public libraries seem to me to be places where equity can and should flourish. Equity in the workplace for staff, for users, for the community should be a priority. I support the work of the consultants who use the words equity and equitable access in the strategic plan to reflect the desires of the community and library staff. That's crucial for library staff who are tasked to carry out the plan. I watched the last board meeting and read the article and op-ed in the Columbian, and I agree with what the Columbian wrote in that op-ed. If there was any word that conveys the same meaning and power as equity, it would have been used by now. Equality does not mean the same thing as equity. Neither equality nor all are welcome rise to the meaning of equity. I urge you to decide that equity is the appropriate term and that our library continues the hard and impactful work toward equity. Thank you.
Aspen?
Hello, board. Director. My name is Lou Aspen. I'm a Vancouver resident and a FVRL staff member of almost 15 years. A AFSCME VP, Brazilian by birth and American by choice. I believe equity is a vital term that must be included in the new strategic plan. Equity doesn't mean that we get the same pay as our director. Thankfully, balance that budget, director. It means that is equality. Equity is a word that guides us, the staff, to ensure that our doors are truly open for everyone. Equality is the word that the community members that cared enough to participate in this long and hard strategic planning process selected with heart. It would be censorship to remove that word. It would be removing the library's heart and the staff's heart. This is what we put every day when we come to work. Clearly, we're not here to be rich. We're here to serve.
And that's a word that really speaks to us. Please do not remove it. That's it, just it. Thank you.
Christina Martin.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, great. My name is Christina Martin, which I realized you just said, and I would like to talk about intellectual freedom. So growing up, I was very sheltered. I went to a private school and did not learn much about history, shockingly. So the public library was great for the access. I learned about slavery, which no, my school did not teach me. I learned about the Civil War, which again, my school did not teach me. I had these books and I learned about them. I learned about history through them. And my parents were the adults in the room. They were my parents, which is what parents should be. They looked at my books. If they did not like a book that I didn't check, if I checked out, they would say, no, you cannot read this, Christina. That's what parents are for. And I am so grateful for having the intellectual freedom to have those books, to learn about stuff I would not have learned otherwise. And when I got older and puberty hit, I was very sheltered, so I did not learn about it. So I could learn about puberty and what was going on through my books, through the library. And again, if my parents did not like them, they would say, you can't read this, because that is what parents are for. Parents are the ones who guide your kids. And sometimes there would be things at the library that they would not like. And so we did not go to the library that day because, again, these are parents. Parents guide what your children do. Parents guide what my parents taught me, what they wanted me to do. Other parents teach their kids, let them do something or not do something. Parents are the adults in the room. Thank you.
Colette Connor.
So my name is Colette Connor, and I've been a teacher in Vancouver for over 2 decades. The word equity is a polarizing word that is unachievable from a library perspective. Libraries face significant structural barriers, including insufficient staffing, budget limitations, and an overemphasis on efficiency, which makes the resource intensive nature of equity work difficult to sustain. I believe the library should be a neutral place of ideas, and prioritizing equity initiatives risks compromising that neutrality. The library should not be in the business of social engineering or attempting to fix social problems by tilting the scales. Its primary job is to provide universal access to information and resources, and people should utilize those based on their own drive and needs, merit, not based on group identity. I fundamentally believe society should focus on individual rights and opportunities rather than group outcomes. When the library implements equity programs that categorize patterns by race, gender, or background to provide different services, it reduces people to their group identity rather than treating them as unique individuals. I prefer a system that treats every person who walks through the door the same way, as an individual. Equality of opportunity is what the library should be focused on. The library acts as a crucial equalizer in society, providing free and open access to information and educational resources for everyone, which is fundamental to a functioning democracy and informed decision-making. Again, equity is a polarizing word that is unachievable from a library perspective. Equality of opportunity is what the library should be focused on. I ask you to decline equity for our libraries and implore you to implement equality. Thank you very much.
Monica Garcia.
Hello, board. My name is Monica Garcia. I wanted to tell you that the American Library Association recently drafted a document titled Core Value Interpretation Equity. While the language differs from FVRL's definition of equitable access, the underlying principle is the same. Libraries must intentionally remove barriers so that all members of the community can meaningfully access information, services, and spaces. In practice, equity in libraries is not abstract. It looks like books and materials in multiple languages so community members can read and learn and connect in languages they know best. It looks like sensory-friendly story times designed for neurodiverse children who may struggle with the noise and unpredictability of traditional programs. It includes sign language interpreters of programs and books by mail for people who cannot easily visit a library. And language learning and citizenship classes and access to technology and the internet. Equity shapes how libraries support families, and librarians are trained information professionals who work with parents and caregivers every day to help them select materials that are appropriate for their own children. Intellectual freedom protects every parent's right to make those decisions for their family, while ensuring that no single set of values is imposed on everyone else. For parents who are concerned about what their children might encounter in a library space, libraries already got you covered. We've got curbside pickup, we've got digital collections, and we've got online resources that allow families to access materials without ever entering our buildings. And these services exist because libraries recognize that families have different needs, different comfort levels, and different circumstances. And equity means meeting people where they are. This work acknowledges a simple reality. People do not all start from the same place, and access is not given by treating everyone exactly the same. Equity requires recognizing difference and responding thoughtfully to it. Intellectual freedom is meaningless without this access. Thanks.
How many?
The next one would be 27 of 32.
We'll keep going a little bit.
Okay.
Going to 7.
Next we have Chris Martin.
Three after that's.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. I'm Chris Martin. And if I had to create a library in what I thought was important, it would be the most boringest library in the world because I like printed books. And not everyone reads with a printed book. Some people like ebooks, audiobooks. And just the other day when I went into the library, I saw people working on the 3D printer at Cascade Park. Love that library. Kids were playing chess, and a father and son were playing a first-person shooting game on the computers. Was that what I wanted for them? Not really. If I could remove that, I probably would, because I don't think people really benefit from a first-person shooting game. But then it doesn't matter, because that's what the library's for. It's not what I want. It's them making memories. Because maybe one day when the kid is 47 years old and his dad's gone, they're going to remember that time when they got to play together at the library. Not reading books, but playing a computer game. And to me, that's what equitable access is. It's the things that I don't necessarily want, but it matters to someone else. Thank you.
We are at the 1 hour mark, but there's only a few people left, so we'll keep going. That's fine.
Justine Stimmel.
Good evening. My name is Justine Stimmel. I'm a Clark County resident, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I would like to begin by acknowledging the significance of today is December 15th, the Bill of Rights Day. That's exciting because we know that the Bill of Rights secures fundamental freedoms for all Americans. And libraries, as custodians of knowledge, hold a sacred duty to uphold these freedoms. Our commitment to open inquiry and the free exchange of ideas is essential to our republic. However, upholding foundational freedoms must be balanced with our responsibility to protect our most vulnerable children and young adults. I want to express my thanks to the Board of Trustees for taking a step back to thoughtfully review and broaden the perspective on the proposed strategic plan. Words truly are important, and the phrase intellectual freedom has unfortunately been repurposed by some in the library world to justify the circulation of unsuitable or age-inappropriate materials to children. Instead of including the potentially polarizing term equity, perhaps the plan could state a commitment that the library ensures every person receives the support they need to learn, develop, and reach their full potential. So, in closing, I ask the board to lead with a vision that honors our commitment to intellectual liberty, prioritizing the protection and well-being of our children. And a simple adjustment to the language can make a profound difference in policy and public trust.
The term equity is often misunderstood. So instead of using that word, it would be clear to explain its meaning directly, which as of stating that, the library ensures everyone receives the support they need to reach their full potential and achieve equal outcomes. So thank you for this time to speak, and I hope you all have a Merry Christmas.
Ann Bauer. Ann will be followed by Steve Hammaker, followed by Judy Musa, followed by Riley Dunhui, and then we'd be wrapped up.
It's fine. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. There you go. All right, good. My name is Ann Bauer. I'm speaking today as a private citizen. I'm here to speak in favor of including the concepts of intellectual freedom and equitable access in our strategic plan. It's difficult for me to explain the importance of these concepts, as to me they're basic and obvious elements of a public library. But the intellectual freedom of libraries and their services to the entirety of the community has been under attack in this country recently. We must fight back against those who want libraries to serve only a small sliver of patrons, those who are loudest or most powerful. FVRL should commit to treating all patrons and staff members with dignity and respect. Some may also not understand the continuing importance of equity and its meaning beyond just opening the doors to everyone. Some parts of our district and some populations currently have less access to information than others. Those who rely on the Washington Talking Books and Braille Library are at risk of losing those services due to funding cuts from the federal government and will need services from local libraries more than ever. In addition, as hard as it is to comprehend to us in downtown Vancouver, communities just 20 or 30 minutes away don't have access to reliable internet. FVRL still has a part to play in providing equitable access to information to everyone in the district. These are just a few examples of the importance of FVRL continuing to work towards equity for everyone. Thank you.
Steve Hammaker. Steve. Okay. Judy Musa.
Good evening, board. Thank you for letting me have a moment to speak. I'm Judy Musa, and I've been part of the Library Foundation for over 12 years, or about 12 years. And I am lucky to be able to speak to the community and to our donors. And the heart of the conversations that I'm having when I'm out and about is that our community absolutely loves our libraries and loves our staff members. And I consistently hear positive feedback, countless comments expressing deep gratitude for the staff and the available programs. It's inspiring to hear the stories of staff going out of their way to provide assistance and saving patrons hours of critical work time. Another key message that I am hearing is the breadth of the classes that the district offers. Our donors are especially pleased to know that we provide these offerings to everyone. This is a reflection of the core value of equity for the library and for many of our donors. My respect for the staff has always been immense, but I believe the role they play now is even more expansive, complex, and crucial to our community's well-being than it ever has been before. They individually uphold the values of the term equity, something that should not be contested or forgotten. Collectively, they live and breathe these standards every day. We know the staff approve the mission and values as initially presented, and I think we have a great opportunity tonight to encourage the library team and show them that you hear them and keep the plan that they have decided on and support them. I hope you will choose to vote in support of the staff and community that has participated in the process throughout the whole summer long. It's crucial that our staff feel support and commitment.
Last up, Riley Dooney.
My name is Riley Donahue. I've worked at a community focused nonprofit for the past 8 years, and I come here to speak as someone who works with experience being on a leadership team and involved with our own strategic planning. I understand the importance of mission statements, values, and purposes. These are not just slogans that get written down and put on a shelf, but are guiding principles where every decision, policy, and precedent is set within the organization. These words will be looked back on time and time again to give direction on what choices to make and what type of organization Fort Vancouver Regional Library endeavors to be. This creates a need to take care and caution to use very precise language, using the words that mean what you intend, and not different words with different meanings for the sake of using a different word. Equal means the same. When compared, two entities are indistinguishable from each other. 2 + 2 = 4. Equal is an outcome. Equitable provides nuance. It enables the ability to consider circumstance and situation when achieving an outcome. Equity is a tool that recognizes that not everything is directly comparable. It provides the ability to look at the whole picture and say the outcomes are fair. Equity recognizes that most things don't have the same starting point. Equitable access allows for different communities to have different needs and different people, and that different services and different methods can be used to meet those needs. There are no other simple terms that provide that kind of structure and guidance. Equal lacks consideration for circumstance. A different term isn't needed. It already exists. Equitable access. As for intellectual freedom, freedom with an asterisk is not freedom. Freedom does not have caveats or exceptions. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments. I'm now closing public comments. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented? I'm going to just pause for a minute. I'm sorry. We'll just let all those who are going to leave go ahead and do that. Rest of the meeting's really fun too. Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Okay, move this to a vote, please.
Marie Coffey.
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole. Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Christy Morgan.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion to approve the consent agenda is adopted. We move to approve all items on the consent agenda, which includes the November minutes and the November claims. Next up is the reports area of our meeting. First will be the October financial statements with Katrina.
Good evening. We are covering, as you said, October's financials. Here in December, we're talking about October. So with that, please keep in mind that the budget amendment that was approved in November is not reflected in this document. There's a few areas where I'll make mention of it, but this document still reflects the original 2025 adopted budget. I'm going to start with our cash balance. On page 16 of our packet this evening is our statement of cash, and our cash balance at the end of October 2025 is just under 23 million. This is an increase for the year of just under 4.5 million, and for the month of October of 7.3 million. These are great numbers, but don't get too close to them because they will change. As we know, our big money comes in October and then our trends change. So we will expect in November and December for our monthly operating net to be negative and our year-to-date operating net to reduce. Moving down to the reserves, I want to call attention to the replacement of vehicles. At the beginning of the year, we had a reserve budget of $10,000 in that area. you'll see that we spent just under $76,000 and we have a negative amount there. This is corrected with the budget amendment. As we know, we spent the $76,000 on a new vehicle. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Going to revenues, everything is meeting or exceeding expectations, both for the originally adopted and the amended budget. I want to point out that the other taxes that we will be combining into one other taxes line going forward, the 4 lines, other general tax, leasehold excise tax, federal in lieu of taxes, and state forest boards, when combined are currently about 117% under budget, and with the amended budget will be about 97% of budget. Under miscellaneous, I want to point out that there's $218,000 there, and $193,000 of that $218,000 is associated with insurance reimbursements from the fire we had in June. To replace
here in this building.
Yes. To replace the crack units and other repairs associated with that.
Is that done? No.
No, the crack units, we expect to be delivered sometime this month and be installed in January.
We're looking forward to bringing you a conclusion update on that. Questions before moving to expenses? Okay. Our personnel budget is maintaining the trend that it has throughout the year, being slightly under budget, about 10%. This will be adjusted for in the amendment. Same idea with the small equipment, furniture, fixtures, and equipment line. As we know, several capital projects, refreshes, and things of that nature got rolled into 2026's budget as we were not able to complete them in 2025. And so we did not purchase all the furniture and fixtures we had expected as part of those. I am happy to report that although it shows library books and materials being at 73% of budget on here, well, that's true at the end of October. As of the other day, they were just under 96% spent. Any questions on expenditures?
Not seeing any.
Okay, thank you so much.
Is there a motion to receive and file the October financial statements as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Marie Coffey.
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole. Olga Hodges.
Aye.
C. Morgan.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have the FVRL organizational report with Alicia and Jennifer.
And good evening. Before we get started, I'm going to ask Jason Reitz, our new Facilities and Fleet Director, to come up and introduce himself to the board.
Hi.
Hello, my name is Jason Reitz. I'm the new Facilities and Fleet Director. I bring a little over 30 years of construction, project management, facilities maintenance operations to FVRL. I'm excited to be here and excited to serve the communities that FVRL serves.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And his day started at 6 a.m. this morning, so thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Good evening, board. It's nice to see you all. Just want to mention a few of the really great things that are happening out in our branches. There was a quick story out of Cascade Park. Our experience passes continue to be really popular. There was a patron who overheard a staff member and someone else talking about these at the desk and didn't know about them, and then was able to talk to staff and get signed up for an experience pass to be able to take advantage of that. So that was a really great story. A couple of anniversaries. Our branch manager at La Center, Jorinda, is celebrating 25 years. So I think that is just a testament to how much staff love working at FVRL. And then also Tara, our Goldendale branch manager, is celebrating her 5-year anniversary. So that's really great as well. Another quick story out of La Center, there was a patron, staff were able to help with a resume, and she was able to call them back. Next time she was in, she got an interview, and she just wanted to tell the staff how much she really appreciated their help and how vital that was for her. Just a couple of other quick things. White Salmon continues to break record attendance for their teen council and their teen late night, which is really great. Teens are often a demographic that we struggle getting to come into our spaces consistently. So they are taking applications now for their teen council for 2026, and they're really excited about how they're connecting with that demographic in White Salmon. All right. And then Yakult, we always get the best stories out of Yakult. I love Yakult. A patron, just again, always a patron expressing their gratitude about what they offer. He has access to DVDs and books. He doesn't have transportation, so otherwise he wouldn't be able to access any of our materials in that way. So just a patron that really expressed gratitude for having our Yakult branch. And then one last quick thing, BiblioCommons, our site continues to see strong use. We had over 104,000 active users, including 73,000 new users. Average engagement time was 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which is really great. Activity is centered on core patron tasks such as search, login, account pages, all showing very low bounce rates. So the events page drew 50,000 views. So it's really great that folks are utilizing our new website. Most of the traffic is coming directly from FVRL.org. So it's a key point of entry and really just a great way that patrons are connecting with us. So we're really excited about that. All right.
On page 37 of your packet, just to note that we continue to see strong use of our digital collections, really outpacing physical collections in growth and helping us to sustain our circulation year over year. And also our visitor counts continue to be strong as well. So those are great numbers to continue to track on. And then on page 42, I just want to take a minute to recognize the work that the foundation has partnered with us on this year that's noted on this page and the letter from Jenny. There are so many ways, both very small and unnoticed and very large and impactful, that the foundation helps us with each and every day. And we thank them and the Friends of the Library for all the great work this year. Any questions from the board? No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Mary Ann had a question.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, we can't hear you. Please go ahead. Go ahead, Olga.
Oh, no, not me. Mary Ann was raising her hand.
Marianne, we can't hear you. So either you're muted or you could type it into the chat box and we'll watch for your question. Is she typing?
I think she's talking. Okay, I think she's typing.
We'll just give her a moment.
What is Experience Pass program?
Sure. The Experience Pass program allows a library patron to print off a ticket to go and see different museums and cultural cultural places around the district. I'm sorry for lack of a word tonight. And you can get to those if you go to FVRL.org and just type Experience Pass in the search bar. It'll take you to the page that outlines all of the places that you can use. And the foundation supports the Experience Passes at about $6,000 a year.
Thank you.
Next, we have Vancouver branch report with Justin.
Good evening, community, trustees, staff, and of course, our friends of the Vancouver Community Library. I'm losing my eyesight, it appears, so I'll be taking these off repeatedly. It is my distinct honor to be sitting at this table representing the good work that this branch has put forth into this community over the past year. I hope to share with you some statistics that will be meaningful to you. I will highlight some of the programs, some of the partnership work, and some of the outreach that the staff in this branch contribute. And I will share about a unique aspect of this location. Now, I've been here, VA, for 3 months. This is not really my report to give. This report reflects the efforts of the staff and the support of the community over the entire 2025. So this building was built in 2011 and is 83,000 square feet on 4 floors of public service operation. It was constructed when the citizens of Vancouver voted to form the Vancouver Library Capital Facilities Area, which was an additional property tax the city levied on itself. The citizens chose to take on in order to fund the construction of this building. We're open 7 days a week and offer 62 hours of library service. We're operated by 61 FTE employees, full-time equivalent employees. So not 61 individual bodies, but a total of 61 people. Together, this team covers 6 points of service daily, 4 customer service desks, answering the telephones for this location as well as many other locations throughout the system, and supporting the district's Live Answers platform. So, year to date, this was very exciting for me to dig into as the incoming branch manager. Year to date, this was at the end of November. This building saw over 330,000 visitors. That accounts for 30% of the foot traffic into our library locations throughout the district. That's 5,000 visits a month on average to the Early Learning Center on the 3rd floor. If you haven't seen it, I recommend going up there and checking it out after a story time, and you'll see what that space means to this community. 1,000 visits on average a month to the teen space. Now, if you've worked in libraries for any amount of time, you will know that engaging with teens is a unique and special thing. And to be able to bring in 1,000 of them monthly is pretty impressive. Almost 7,000 new accounts, FVRL new accounts were registered in this building over the past year. That's around 23% of our patrons coming to this building to register. That includes online registrations. We circulated 740,000 items out of this building. That's about 22% of the physical items circulating in the district. And the renewals happen here in this building. Staff in this building answered more than 23,000 phone calls this past year. The branch earned some highlights in local media over the year. In March, the Columbian wrote about Vancouver Community Library in an article mentioning it as a go-to location for meaningful free activities for families over the spring break. That mentioned also specifically the Early Learning Center and the teen space. Now, Christmas, winter break is coming up. We will be seeing booming business from those populations here in a couple weeks. Columbian also covered one of our Read to a Dog programs. Now, those programs happen district-wide, but back in January, the Columbian was here to write about the benefits of providing a child a non-judgmental audience in the form of a golden retriever to practice their literacy skills with. And recently, the branch, this was really exciting. We were visited by KGW News at 11 at the launch of the new Library of Things program, and they came and they filmed some of the building. In terms of partnerships, this location, along with a few other FVRL locations, worked hand in hand with Share this past summer to serve as a summer meal site. Vancouver staff and volunteers served over 1,400 meals June through August in this room. The branch partners with Clark College to host a series of talks called Penguin Talks. We hosted 9 this year and are looking forward to many more in 2026. The fall series featured our own Jennifer Giltrup here presenting on the evolving roles of public libraries in our communities. And our branch staff work with, here we go, Goodwill Industries to provide monthly ESL classes, 2 levels of ESL classes, and citizenship classes. We support 8 monthly ongoing outreach visits out of this location. 4 early learning sites such as Head Starts and Family Community Resource Centers with Vancouver Public Schools. Staff participate in outreach to 1 teen site and 3 assisted living facilities monthly. In May and June of 2025, the branch hosted 20 class tours. In the run-up to summer reading, 20 classes came here, took a tour, and staff were able to connect with more than 500 parents and students over the course of those 2 months on our resources, services, and spaces. During the spring and summer of 2025, staff from this location visited 17 school parent family nights, allowing them to connect with more than 2,000 parents and students. Also made 3 presentations to Vancouver neighborhood associations. To date, for this year, and this was pulled at the end of November, excuse me. The end of November, this branch hosted 883 distinct programs with an attendance of over 22,000 people. Staff in the branch put together a wide and long list of programs for members of this community to enjoy monthly. Some of them include obvious choices like our 6 early learning programs, such as story times. They're bringing in an average of 56 attendees per session. There are sewing programs. Picture, you can see a mother and daughter team showing off the aprons that they constructed together. Writing workshops, 3 book discussion groups, board game gatherings that routinely bring in more than 40 people, and different programs for families such as Build It and Kids Create. And you can see, well, there's a crazy hat and there's some creativity happening in the moment right there. One thing that blew me away when I joined the team here at Vancouver was reviewing the statistics for summer reading, and I want to draw particular attention to this. In 2025, staff at this location registered 2,164 participants. Now that may not seem crazy by itself. That number represents a 64% increase over registrations in this branch from 2024. And it represents 21% of the registrants for the entire district. Some other banner programs were hosted this year. The mini golf tournament. I won't read all the numbers for you, except for I do want to mention Dogman Day, which happened just last month. Now, I know Dav Pilkey is a pretty famous author. I had no idea that his Dogman series would bring in almost 230 people with a participant exclaiming, "This is exactly what we needed today." And Vancouver had the honor of hosting the Library District's first ever library card design celebration back in September. One thing that makes Vancouver really unique is that we are able to utilize what is called the gray space, those ugly, empty concrete walls out there. So we use those gray spaces. The Vancouver art team connects with local artists in Clark County in Vancouver to host rotating installations of art throughout the year. Here are just a few from 2025. That team is already working on getting together with artists to fill up this space with lively local creations in 2026. There are not enough slides or time to acknowledge and have a photo of every single staff member that operates this building. But I want to be clear that nothing that I was able to share, none of those numbers would have been possible without the hard work and commitment of the staff, those that show up here every day, providing the customer service that our community depends on, designing and running creative, thoughtful programs, and engaging with the community outside of our walls. The system could not do it without you. Another group that this library and any library in FVRL cannot do without is our friends of the library. These folks are our tireless advocates. They are out there in the community singing our praises consistently, promoting the good work that happens here. They use the book nook right outside these doors as a ongoing book sale to bring in funds to support library initiatives. They then take that money, they turn their effort into outcomes for the community by investing in our programs for all ages, our summer reading performances anyway, friends, thank you for all of your hard work. Your love of the library is obvious to me, and it means so much to all of us on the staff. The Friends in October hosted their 8th annual Art for Art fundraiser. And this was the first time I got to see this in operation from the other side. They received donations from the Bergeners Woodworking Company of 300 panels that were distributed to local artists. The artists then did their creative magic on them, brought them in here, staff set them up with the help of the Friends. And all of that allowed the Friends to raise $5,700 this past October in one night, and that was a record for this group. The Friends then, at the very next meeting, I went to the Friends and asked if they would be able to contribute $7,000 to support the district-wide community reading program. And they said, of course, we're happy to do it. They took that money that they earned one month and immediately invested it back into putting together meaningful programs for the entire district. So thank you, Friends. Well, thank you for your time this evening. I am happy to answer questions.
I don't have a question. I just want to say, I don't have a question. I just want to say congratulations, Justin. I've had the pleasure of getting to know you since I've been on the board, and I can't think of a better place for you to be. I can't wait to see a year from now what happens with all of the metrics and stats, but programs too. The staff is very lucky to have you here. But just congratulations on a well done move. You're the perfect branch manager, in my opinion. I know, I'll embarrass you forever.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to the business portion of our meeting, starting with Facilities and Finance Committee. We have the 2026 budget, and Katrina's going to start us off with some information.
I am. Good evening again, and thank you. Budget is one of my favorite things, and it makes my heart happy to know how many people are paying attention to the budget. With that, on page 50 of 120 in our packet is the 2026 draft revenue budget. This has not changed at all since we last spoke about it. I can highlight some things if you would like, or we can move on to the expense budget. Okay, we are going to move on. Page 52 of our packet has the draft 2026 expense budget. This has only changed in one area over what you saw last, but before I get to that, there are some things that I would like to note. In our personnel budget, it has increased just under 4.6 million over the 2025 budget amendment. This is a 22% increase over the 2025 budget amendment. I also want to mention that books and materials has just over $1 million increase. This is a 28% increase over the 2025 budget amendment, and it maintains our collection budget at 12%. And then down in capital, So that is where the one change did take place. Under machinery and equipment, we had $10,000 in the adopted budget originally, and what you saw last, it's now $175,000. And that's because we are unable, based on the car lot, to purchase the vehicles in 2025 that we had expected to be able to purchase. So we had connected with them, placed the order, and we will not get them or pay for them until 2026. So that required an adjustment there. And then I do want to note of the just under $12 million capital budget, that 4.5 of that is for the Washougal building. That was part of our levy lid lift promise.
4 million.
Oh, sorry, 4 million. I underlined the wrong one. Any questions on expense budget?
Don't think so.
Okay. So then I'm going to move on to reserves. Likewise, there was only one change here related to the replacement of vehicles. It started with a cash balance of $250,000 in reserves, had nothing planned to be expended, and now it has that $175,000 there, taking it down to $75,000 at the end of the year. Unless there are questions on that, we can go to page 57. This is our 5-year forecast that is part of our policy to bring forward to you. The 5 years are 2026 through 2030. We leave 2025 in there as it is an active year. Just a reminder, this is a living, breathing document that we will continue to update and revise as better information comes along year over year and maybe even multiple times throughout the year. This is represents the best information we have as of October of 2025, and it allows us to meet our operational reserves through 2030. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you. So the purpose, we're going to have a public hearing now. And the purpose of this public hearing is providing a brief description of the 2026 budget and the action that the hearing body may legally take. The ground rules for this hearing are: the public comment portion of the hearing will be set to 30 minutes. Each individual will be allowed 2 minutes to speak during the public comment portion. And the guidelines for this are a little different in that the only topic we will be hearing for this will be on the budget. Please avoid repetitive comments, unruly behavior. If there's a group, you could ask one person to be the speaker or representative. I'm now opening the public comment portion of the public hearing for 2026 budget. Each person may have up to 2 minutes to speak. So if you want to speak, go ahead and just come on up to the microphone and please form a line. We'll get to everyone that we can within 30 minutes. Again, the topic is for the 2026 budget. And please say your name. Go ahead and come on up. Say your name into the microphone before you begin speaking, please.
My name is Jamie Bear. My pronouns are they, them. I just wanted to make the comment. I was very excited when the levy lid lift passed, of course. Very excited as a librarian and as somebody who does outreach for this library district that the money that we'll put into this. But I'm concerned with, as a union member, FVRL is barely keeping up with the increase in benefits. They've actually voted for us to try and change our benefits because they couldn't afford it. But now that this levy lid lift has passed, we expect FVRL to be more caring for its employees and be more representative of the benefits that we should get paid, as well as regular increases as we continue to serve FVRL consistently and without bias.
Anyone else? Board of Trustees, do you have any comments to add? Is there anyone online, sorry, that's trying to talk? No. Okay. Board of Trustees, do you have any comments to add? All right, I will now close the public comment portion of the public hearing for the 2026 budget. Do any board members of the hearing body have any additional questions? Okay, I formally close the public hearing. We are going to move on to Resolution 2025-12, the 2026 budget approval. So the next steps are to adopt Resolution 2025-12, adopting the 2026 budget. Now I ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-12 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any further questions? Any further discussion? Okay, I move this to a vote, please.
Marie Coffey.
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole. Olga Hodges. Christy Morgan.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion to approve the 2026 budget is adopted. The public hearing for the 2026 budget approval is now closed.
Thank you.
All right, next we are moving on to, let's see, Resolution 2025-13. We have a surplus of the 2016 Mercedes Sprinter van.
And I apologize, board, I see an error in your packet on page 60. That should be staff report. No, never mind. I always get this confused. We have staff report numbers and resolution numbers, and they're different. Okay, so we're good. So this is to surplus our 2016 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van. It is a facilities van used for tools and going out to fix things at locations across the district. This van is 9 years old with 231,811 miles. It has been replaced. As we just discussed, that was the $75,000 purchase that was made. So this now is ready for surplus because it's over $1,000 in fair market value. It is required that the board approves the surplus of this vehicle.
Does anyone have questions? All right, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-13 surplus authorization as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Marie Coffey.
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole. Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Christy Morgan.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion to approve Resolution 2025-13 surplus authorization is adopted. Next up is informational. We'll have a strategic plan with comprehensive facilities plan, Group 4 architecture.
So Jill is here. Jill here's from Group 4. And before she begins, I just want to give some context to this plan. This 10-year facilities plan for the library system is a working document intended to support long-range planning and informed discussion rather than formal adoption. So there is no adoption of the plan that will be made. Its purpose is to help the library better understand current and projected facilities needs as community demographics, service models, and usage patterns continue to evolve. The plan brings together data on population trends, building conditions, and community use to identify opportunities and challenges across the system. In some cases, this analysis may indicate that an existing facility no longer effectively meets community needs due to location, size, condition, or functional limitations. Where that occurs, the plan is intended to support thoughtful exploration of alternatives, which may include consolidation, relocation, or closure, in order to better align library facilities with current and future service goals. The plan also examines space standards, including square feet per capita, as a way to assess the adequacy and functionality of library buildings across the system. These measures are used solely to evaluate physical space needs, such as public areas, collections, programming, and support functions, and are not related to staffing levels or workforce planning. Recognizing that community needs, funding, and priorities will continue to change, this document is designed to be flexible and iterative. It will be updated and refined as new information becomes available and will serve as a tool to help guide future decisions, investments, and partnerships in support of the library's mission. There are some things that Jill will talk about tonight that we already know. Part of our levy lid lift include opening a new Washougal Community Library. That work is moving ahead. There's other things Jill will note that we're learning, that we don't know enough about, that will take lots of study. So without further ado, I want to thank Jill for coming here tonight and being with you in person. And also for the board members, you have binders in front of you that give you the whole report. For the audience, that is available to you online in your packets. So Jill? And you should have also the clicker somewhere.
I think I'm running it off my machine if I can, so. Try to make that happen. I think actually this might be the non-judgmental golden retriever that Justin talked about. So popular here. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, board, for this opportunity to come share with you tonight what we've learned about and what we're recommending in this facilities plan. We've been looking forward to this opportunity for months and months. So it's an honor to be here and have such a wonderful audience here with us as well. I am Jill Ayers. I am a principal with Group for Architecture, Research and Planning, contract prime for the consultant team here and lead of the facilities planning portion of the process. So our charge when we were honored to be chosen for this process was to develop the next 10-year plan for library facility maintenance and improvements. Your last one was in 2013 and it lasted you a little bit longer than 10 years, but it is time for a new one. So what we were asked to do was to clearly articulate the needs and vision for library spaces and facilities in the Fort Vancouver Regional Library District, to develop a plan that is data informed and realistic, something that can be achieved over the life of the plan, something that is tailored for this library district and the communities that you serve, something that we want to engage staff, stakeholders, and district residents in the process to make sure that voices were heard and we know whom we're serving and who this plan is for. And of course, our charge too was to present the plan to you by the end of this calendar year to inform your budgeting process, as well as projects moving forward. The consultant team brings together extensive national experience with some really deep local knowledge here in the Vancouver region. So Group 4, I mentioned, we have 50 years of planning and design of public facilities with a specialty in libraries, public libraries, and in particular, long-range planning for large library systems such as Fort Vancouver. We have worked with many of your national peer libraries, the biggest libraries in the nation, and also some of the ones here in the region. We worked with Multnomah County Library on their plan that's helped was the foundation for their recent capital ballot measure that they're moving forward with. Same with Spokane Public Library in Eastern Washington, and Deschutes Public Library in Central Oregon. So we've worked with a lot of communities. One of the things that I will tell you outright is that our plan for you is not the same as the plans for them, but it is the same in that we tried to make it very, very specific for those communities, and that's why they're able to move forward. Another one of our partners with that national experience is Bureau Veritas. They were along with us for some very deep technical facility condition assessments. They walked through most of your facilities,
top to bottom, inside and out, looked at each component, looked at each piece of equipment, site and buildings, and provided a really good detailed snapshot of the current condition today and the amount of maintenance and types of maintenance that Jason and his team will be working on moving forward for all of these facilities. So they have worked with us on literally hundreds of libraries across the nation, and they're very, very good at what they do. So to talk about the local team a little bit, we have FFA Architecture located in Portland. They, in addition to working in the city of Vancouver and other communities, have a long history of working with this library on your facilities, and they are wonderful to work with. They were part of our architectural team, walking through each one of the libraries to get the look and feel of how they're working today and help share that with Group 4. We could not ourselves walk through all of your facilities. The Portland office of Ryder Levitt Bucknall provided some input into construction costs in the cost model that we put together for this. That's such a local thing to put together those budgets. It's really valuable to have that local expertise. And then last but not least, we had Point North, who was leading the strategic plan and the community engagement portion of this process. The integrated nature of the strategic and facilities plan, they are two plans that can be separate and often are. They have very different planning horizons. The strategic plan for library service and operations is closer to a 5-year plan, whereas a facilities plan looks 10, 20 years out. But the nice thing about doing them together is that we could leverage the library's attention, the staff's attention, your attention to push these both forward together. And then we could leverage the engagement across both plans because people want to tell us the same kinds of things and we're both looking at it from different perspectives. The facility assessments, I mentioned the condition. We also walked through and looked at them from an architectural perspective. Are these nice buildings that are pleasant to walk into? How well are they supporting library service today? What's the experience for customers? What's the experience for staff? And then service and operations. What is the breadth of services that they're able to provide? How many people can be in there at the same time? Are they efficient to operate? Does staff get to be used at their highest and best value? That sort of thing. So, and then of course, engagement was fairly robust. Library, we worked with the core project team, Jennifer, Miranda, and Julian and Justin for a bit. And we had a staff survey where I think nearly every staff member responded to the survey. So thank you to all of you who did that. That was really, really helpful for us to hear. We had staff focus groups. I think 50 or 60 people participated. Again, thank you to those of you who participated. And I'm forgetting something, but I will remember it when I come back to it. So, of course, board members. We met with you several times. And then the community engagement. So we had started with stakeholder interviews, a dozen or so people that Point North spoke with about kind of the vision and needs for the community overall. We had a community survey where more than 2,000 people responded, took a whole lot of time out to give us their thoughts and ideas and priorities, which is super helpful. We had 6 listening sessions strategically located throughout the district, so people had opportunities to come participate, as well as I think we had an online one as well. And then we had a series of 5 workshops with our stakeholder committee that we called the Next Chapter Advisory Committee. Just had the last one last week. Diverse group of community members, representatives of various organizations, library staff, library stakeholder groups, Friends Foundation. We had high school students in there. We were really trying to make sure that we had a good sounding board from the community for our findings and for the kinds of things, ideas we were bringing forward. From all of our observations, from all of what we heard from staff and the community, and what we saw in our analysis of the available data and information, we built into this vision for spaces and buildings. The idea here was to articulate the sort of essential and enduring qualities of spaces and buildings that will allow these to be useful and valuable and wonderful destinations for the community for the long term, the kinds of things that are working now and the kinds of things we want your facilities to be in the future. So first and foremost, these are places for people. They're welcoming and comfortable places for people to come. There's room in them to do all kinds of things. They are able to support lots of different programs and activities, hour to hour and day to day. They can adapt and change over and over again over time as community interests and needs change, as library services and technology change. Libraries need to be able to keep up with that. They have the capacity to accommodate the significant community growth that's coming, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And of course, we want buildings that can be operated sustainably over their life. Your facilities today, we looked at the 15 buildings that are owned or leased by the district. They are all, according to the technical condition assessments by Vera Veritas and our walkthroughs, they are all really in excellent condition. They're very well maintained. That good stewardship of public dollars is very evident in how you've cared for your building. So kudos to the district and your team there. That said, maintenance needs are always ongoing, particularly in buildings that are as popular and well-used as your libraries. That's going to be part of this plan moving forward. There's no end to maintenance ever. But the FCAs that Vera Veritas gave us provide a really good picture of what that's going to look like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years out. From library service perspectives, all of these are used very differently, and that is very normal. There is no one right library for all of your communities, and each one of these is used very differently. Some of them have really high program attendance. Justin mentioned some of the high program attendance that's here. Some of them have really high technology use. That's a priority for some places. Here, Vancouver Mall, there's other branches where that in particular stands out. There's some that are particularly high circulating in terms of physical materials. Some of them do 2 of those. Some of them do all 3 of those, but they are all different. And that's what we want to see in a good, healthy library system. That they really reflect the needs and interests of the communities they serve. And that's why they are different. Some general trends, though, across all of them, your larger libraries tend to provide more service. And that is a little bit just sort of makes sense, right? Like this building has so many things in it. It has so many places to sit, so many computers, so many materials, so many, really cool and unique things like the children's wonderful discovery area up on 2, 3. That's a really wonderful thing that's here. And so bigger buildings can do more of that. Cascade Park is your next biggest one, and it is second in all of those things because it can be. And then your larger branches also tend to show more of the operational economies of scale that are possible in bigger facilities. There's a certain level of investment of staff and utilities and the kinds of things that go into operating a building. And if you have a little bit more space, that gets leveraged over that little bit more space. This is a chart that's in the report. I won't go through it little by little, but this is all meant to communicate that one of the biggest challenges that's ahead of you in terms of your space facilities is that capacity for service generally. Our estimate based on what we've seen and what we've learned is that you have a deficit right now of at least 20% of the space that you really need to serve the population that you have today. That 20%, if you had that right now, it would mean that much more space for meeting many of the needs that we heard about from staff, from the community, places to sit, places to meet, gather group study rooms. No one ever has enough. People come in and want that. There's never enough space for that. Meeting room, program space, places for more materials, and places, of course, to get staff help because staff are essential for the success of these facilities and what people want. So what we know from planning libraries, it's a long-term truism, is that library space really needs to grow proportionate with your population. And that population here in the district is going to continue to grow. It's projected to grow about 35% over the next 20 years or so.
What does that come out to in numbers?
Numbers, right now you're about 550,000 people. I think we're showing adding another 170,000 people or so-ish over the next 20 years.
Yeah, it was like 750.
Yeah. Which is about the same number of people that have moved here since 2000. So just keep moving forward. This is the system that you have now. In addition to that kind of shortage of space overall for the whole district, it's not sort of distributed proportionate to the population either. Klickitat and Skamania counties have 4 libraries in them, and the amount of space relative to the populations of those counties is a little bit higher than it is over here on the Clark County side, stretching up into Cowlitz County, a little bit in Woodland and Yale Valley area. Right now, your population, more than 90% of your population is living over in Clark County or north, and only about 83% or so of your library space is over here. This is where that growth is most likely going to happen. All of those extra 170,000 people or so, few of them will be in Klickitat and Skamania, but most of them will be over here. So that deficit is just going to keep getting more and more felt. This is also where most of your very small little libraries are that are kind of struggling to serve the number of people that walk in the door every day or try to walk in the door every day. La Center, Mall, Meshuggah, they just can't provide the same space for service as the larger ones. So the recommendations of this plan are going to build on what the 2013 facilities plan recommended, which is to prioritize adding space over adding locations. Focus on having larger buildings that can provide more service versus just adding more branches. Ridgefield is a good example through the last plan of one that got expanded, and you can see the results in the amount of service, and that's what we're recommending to move forward with. The new Meshuggah that's planned will be about 3.5 times the size of the current one. So it'll be a big jump for them. Hey, forward button, why aren't you working? Oh, it's animated still. Too bad. Okay, ignore the animation. I will go through it. I didn't mean to. I meant to turn that off. Let's hope it's all there. So 20-year vision for libraries here. Again, strategically add a significant amount of space and service, but still try to stay at 15 staff locations. And that's really a sustainability strategy for you operationally. Your operational dollars for staff and hours are going to go much further with a smaller number of libraries. So the plan recommends keeping many of your current facilities. A lot of them are going to stay just as they are. Goldendale, Woodland, Ridgefield, Battleground, Stevenson, Cascade Park, Three Creeks, this building, and then the Operations Center, all, at least in the next 10 years or so, recommended to be just as they are in terms of their size and location. The plan recommends a new minimum size for branches. Don't go smaller than 15 and go larger if you can. That's where you're starting to get those good economies of scale and ability.
15,000 square feet.
What did I say?
You just said 15.
15 square feet, guys.
15,000. 15,000.
1,000 square feet, at least. Thank you. Again, so new Meshuggah is going to be about that size. Recommending, this is again, 20-year plan. We're not talking 10-year priorities yet. This is the vision for 2045. Find a way to expand White Salmon Valley. Expand Yakult, likely replace it with something probably on a different site. And then one of my things that didn't pop up yet is a new larger branch in the kind of Hazel Dell, Walnut Grove, Minnehaha area, north of 500 between I-5 and 205. There's a ton of people living there now, and that's only going to densify over the next 20 years. So put in a good solid branch in there. We're recommending 2 new sort of regional scale branches to help decentralize some of the things that are solely focused here right now, like having some special larger program space that can be taken out into the community where that growth is going to happen. One is shown here in North Clark County, kind of sort of between where the current La Center is and Ridgefield so that it can serve that whole growing area. And then find space for one that's sort of East Clark County area to Hawkinson, kind of Orchards area where the community is growing out toward. And then, with all of those things in place, again, trying to stay with our sort of 15 staffed locations, think about transitioning out of Vancouver Mall, which is important, but also very small, and see about transitioning the staff out of North Bonneville and toward another location where they can be present more of the time and people can see their wonderful faces and get their stuff. So again, this is 2045. This is not the next 10 years. So let's look at the next 10 years. This is 2035. We've got these kind of three buckets of project types. We've got maintenance and modernization, which is about taking care of the buildings you have. You've got a few of these that are going to need new roofs in the next 10 years, and that's a really good opportunity to take a look at what's inside and modernize service and operations in there too. Make it ready for the next 10 years of service or more. Those include Three Creeks, Cascade Park, and then the Operations Center. Operations Center opportunity to really increase the library's ability to collaborate internally. Right now, the biggest meeting room there is about 10 people, and that's not, for an organization of your size, you want something that can support more meetings, more staff development space than that. And also to bring the foundation back into the fold, really expand that partnership and make it even better than it already is, if that's possible. So, and then of course that ongoing branch maintenance that always needs to happen. So capacity building for the population now and into the future. We've got Newa Shugol. Everyone's excited about that. That was promised in the levy lid lift and can move forward now. We've got the 1 to 2 new regional libraries in Clark County, and those really depend on when you can make those happen. The sites are going to be the thing that helps you decide there which one of those might go first, or maybe it's both of them. And then even though things like the new Yakult branch, White Salmon Valley, et cetera, those aren't necessarily proposed as priorities in the next 10 years, land is something that you really should keep an eye out for, or some, strategy for making those happen. You don't want to get 10 years down the road and then discover that all the land disappeared in the last 10. And then we got some strategic investments shown in here. Both Battleground and Woodland have kind of big paved areas outside where it's like, wouldn't it be nice if these were covered so they could be used when it's really hot out or when it's raining, kind of extend the programmable space at those branches. There is the issue of parking for this building. That is, none of the parking is owned by the library, and so it is not within your control. And if it
This is related to the I-5 bridge project that goes through as planned. The parking that we do use here at this building is at risk, and we are in conversations with the city of Vancouver. The parking that was meant for this building was never built on the empty vacant property next to us that's being used as a construction staging area now. We have first right of refusal on that property should the city sell it, but we believe they will develop it. So the city is well aware of our parking situation that we have. In addition, we have a staff parking situation where they have to park at the old library. And we have that parking agreement for free with the city until 2031, at which time we will start to pay market rates to use that parking. So we have several issues tied up in this facility that we are spending some time thinking about and talking with our city partners about.
Thank you.
Yes.
You do a much better job of explaining the complexity of that than I can. And then, again, like transition out of staffed services at North Bonneville and Vancouver Mall. This is not an indictment of the value of what staff are doing there, or the importance of those branches for the people that use them now. It is more about finding ways to allocate those resources so that they can be used by more people and in expanded space. It's really moving that direction. This is pretty small. I will not, it's in the plan. The numbers are all there. I will say that the budgeting for these, we tried as hard as we could to be comprehensive in the kinds of things that you would expect to go into a budget, but none of these have been designed. And until a project has been designed, it's really hard to get very specific about what it's going to cost. So these are big round numbers, and they are big round numbers on purpose. So intent is to give you enough room so that as things evolve and you are able to, as a board, as a library, make these decisions, you aren't having to cut your vision in half from the beginning, right? So the things that are included in these budgets are budgets for site and building construction. For the projects that are recommended for renovation, like Three Creeks or Cascade Park, we've pulled in the 10-year maintenance numbers from the facility condition assessment reports too. Make sure those are in there. We've got a budget in there for furniture. We've got a budget in there for the kinds of fees and costs that the owner typically pays. Some of that is engineering fees, permits, lots of things that go in there. We've got a little bit in there for contingencies. There's always things in a construction project that we don't know now, but we know something's gonna come up. So we want to make sure we've got a little buffer in there for that. And then escalation. Cost consultants, not just RLB locally here, but the ones that we're working with across the country. It's a very hot construction market right now. There's no way around that. They're recommending anywhere between 5% and 8% for.
Sorry for interrupting. There is a smell of burning.
I do smell burning.
Yeah. I smell
It smells like food.
food.
Okay.
Yeah. It smells like a nice steak grilling. I also smelled marijuana and for dogs barking.
Yes. I haven't smelled the marijuana yet, but I believe you.
All right. Sorry, go ahead. You were naming something in the back of my mind. I was like,
Yeah,
It does smell delicious in here.
the steak, right?
The steak.
Okay.
Anyway, escalation. The RLB was recommending 5% per year for the next few years. It is customary to put an escalation like 3 to 5 years at a time. I have not escalated these out 20 years because then it starts just feeling crazy. But it's enough, again, to hopefully get you through the next couple of years. So as these projects get refined, as you're able to put timelines on them, you can come back and refine that and adjust it as, to current market conditions at that time. One of the things that we were not able to put in here in terms of dollars, but we have included over to the right is where new land might be needed. We've put in a little bit of a kind of size in there. Like you should have at least X number of acres for a building of this size. One of the things that is in the report about site acquisition, there's some guidelines in there about what to look for in terms of a good site that should work for a library. There's also some discussion in here about things that aren't just buying new virgin land so that you can put a building on there. There's ideas about how other solutions, buying a building that's about the same size that can be adapted for use as a library. That's something that more and more of our clients are doing right now. As the drugstores are going out of business, those are wonderful spaces, truly. There's a ton of parking. They're really well located. People know where they are, and you can kind of get them and turn them into good branch libraries pretty easily. Not the only thing, but that's the kind of thing that this plan should give you the ability to do, is to look at those kinds of solutions as well. So I mentioned some of the other libraries in your area that have been making this happen, and you may want to go talk with them about their experiences and the kinds of things that they're doing as well. And then I will finish here. Jennifer mentioned some of the things that this plan is intended to help you do and talk about some of the opportunities that may come up over the life of this plan. Plans are just a starting point, and they are showing you a destination. There will be many ways to get there. So these are some of the kinds of things that we talked about when putting together the list of 10-year priorities. These are the kinds of things that you will talk about over and over again as you're starting to think about sequencing these projects and putting them into motion. The plan, we couldn't really recommend a specific sequence for some of these. Can't do this one first because there are unknowns, right? When are you going to find a site for regionals, et cetera? But you as a board will have this document and be able to have these conversations. I will say, I believe the plan is that each project is going to continue coming to the board as they develop and when they're ready to go forward. And each project is going to provide opportunities for engagement. All of the engagement in the future has not just happened as part of this plan. There will be opportunities to engage library staff, library stakeholders, and the communities along the way.
So what that looks like is similar to what we did in Washougal in 2020, 2021, to develop the concept. There were meetings held with the architect in Washougal for the community to come to and talk about the specific hopes and dreams for a new library. And then as that process went forward, there was a reporting back when that concept was developed. So that's what that would look like as we move forward with different projects.
That's my presentation.
I just want to say you've done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
You answered a lot of my questions at committee, so I'll just let others ask questions if they have them.
I just wanted to say one quick thing. I misspoke in the board packet that was posted on the website for the meeting, just has the slide deck, but we will be posting the full facilities plan on our strategic planning page. I don't think it's
in the packet that's online.
It's in the packet online. Thank you. It's so nice to have these answers. So it is about 90 pages.
It's a real nice.
So good job, Jill, going through it quickly. There's a lot there, and I would encourage everyone to dig into it. And certainly, if you have questions or comments, certainly get in touch with either the trustees or myself.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jill.
Next, we'll move on to the Policy and Nominating Committee, the election of next year's officers.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hi, I'm Olga Hodges. I'm on the Policy Nominating Committee. And the Policy and Nominating Committee met on December 4th, 2025 to produce a slate of officers to bring forward to the board. Policy and Nominating Committee recommend the following: as Chair Trustee, Megan Dugan; as Vice Chair Trustee, Marie Coffey; and as Secretary Trustee, Mary Williams.
The Policy and Nominating Committee have brought forward an election slate. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the 2026 officers of the Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Marie Coffey.
Aye.
Marianne Duncan Cole. Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Christy Morgan.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Motion to approve the 2026 officers of the Fort Vancouver Library District Board of Trustees is adopted. Thank you. The Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees will now meet in executive session to discuss personnel as allowed by RCW 42-3110-1G. The Board of Trustees will be in executive session for 20 minutes or until 8:45. The Board of Trustees is expected to take further action following the executive session. So tonight we're going to leave. You guys are welcome to stay here and hang out, and we'll be back at 8:45. Thank you.
Mind getting the
Mary Ann, okay. Thank you all for sticking around. I'm calling our meeting back to order. The next item is Resolution 2025-14, the Executive Director's Review. The Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees has reviewed the Executive Director's compensation and benefits as part of its annual performance evaluation and has determined that a compensation adjustment is warranted, resulting in a 7% increase. This increase takes into consideration both performance, she's done so much this year, and inflation, cost of living considerations. In addition, she only received a COLA in 2024. Her merit increase was delayed due to levy uncertainties. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2025-14 Executive Director's Review as amended?
Yes. Second.
Is there any further discussion? I move this to a vote, please.
Amy Coffey.
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole. Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Go ahead. It's okay.
Christy Morgan.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
You're saying aye, but you can't hear them.
And I can't hear. I need a.
Maybe they could put it in there.
Sorry, that was me.
Oh.
Be revote.
Can we take another vote? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Marie Coffey.
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole. Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Christy Morgan.
Aye.
Mary Williams.
Aye.
Irina Kakarina.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Resolution 2025-14 passes. Executive Director's Review.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole chatted as well.
Thank you.
I did say aye, but I lost my
Thank
unmute
you.
button.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work. We really appreciate it. Are there any board comments tonight?
Well, I would like to say thank you to
Make sure you're unmuted.
Oh, sorry. Katrina got practically perfect on the audit wherever she is. So thank you for all of your work. Thank you, Christy, for chairing for the last year. Thank you for our Levy, Miss Levy, the lift champion. Yes. Thank you for the staff and all the workers here at this fantastic branch, and thank you to the library friends for the wonderful dinner that you served us.
I also wanted to thank friends for a wonderful meal tonight. I think if we step back and just listen to each other a little bit, we're actually asking for a lot of the same things with just a different label on it. So I hope we can come together. In society, it feels like we've lost the art of compromise, working together. So I hope we can come together and remember that the communities we represent are even more diverse than what's in this room. And even though we say, there's 2,000 people that came and did the surveys, we represent everyone. We don't ignore all the rest. And so we're saying a lot of the same things. And so I hope we can just come together, realize that, and come to a nice mission, vision, and values that serves everyone. I thought I heard somebody else trying to talk. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to congratulate Jen on 2-year anniversary earlier this month, being at Fort Vancouver, and for all of the hard work applied this year, all the sacrifices and surprises that came in the first year. And, there's just so many things that I hear people saying, kudos, and this went great, just to other staff members and other places in the institution. And I know in many of those situations, Jen has been a really positive influence and a really fantastic leader. And so I think we're feeling a really good end of year here, our last 2025 meeting. And I'm just really grateful that we have such fantastic leadership, so many relationships going well, and such a great functioning board. Even with all our diverse thoughts, opinions, and all of that, I am just so grateful that we have such a great working rapport together. And I look forward to next year.
I have prepared remarks. I want to begin tonight with a truth that should not need saying, yet here we are. Justice is not blind. Justice has eyes. And every one of those eyes is watching this Board of Trustees. This is not a small moment. This is not a procedural meeting. This is a reckoning point for a public institution that has served this region for 75 years. And I will not stand by quietly while 3 members of this board attempt to drag us backwards into ignorance, fear, and the soft-spoken violence of white fragility disguised as concern. For those who don't know me, my name is Mary Williams, a trustee serving one of 2 seats for the city of Vancouver. And I am here tonight with the community, not above it and not instead of it. I am here to speak the truth out loud so our neighbors could finally see what has been happening in plain sight. I hold a Master of Science in Information from the University of Michigan, the so-called Harvard of library schools, though we Wolverines prefer to say Harvard is the Michigan of the East. I built my career as the first digital archivist for Disney Animation. I ran technology and collections for a special district library in Austin, Texas. I have been a consultant for major tech companies, and now I run a thriving media studio right here in Vancouver. In other words, I know what I'm looking at, and I know what I'm hearing, and I know when something is rotten inside a governing body. I am half Asian, I am queer, and I have lived my life as someone who can sometimes pass in white and heteronormative spaces, which means I see things that others pretend not to see. I hear what is whispered when people think they are safe inside their sameness. I recognize the tone, the posture, the microaggressions that stack like paper cuts until the wound becomes a hemorrhage. And make no mistake, the hemorrhage is here. Because what is happening on this board is not a disagreement. It is not a misunderstanding. It is not just a conversation. It is an attempted whitewashing of our district's mission, vision, strategic plan, and values. It is an effort to strip the words equity and intellectual freedom from a document that represents the soul of a public library, this public library. It is the same playbook being used across the country to push marginalized communities out of public life, one concern at a time. And I will name that playbook clearly: white fragility. White fragility is the reflex to shut down accountability the moment someone names harm. It is the defensiveness that erupts when a person's worldview is challenged. It is the shaking voice, the forced smile, the faux neutrality, the performative confusion. It is the "I'm just asking questions" routine that masks a deep fear of losing dominance. And it has been infecting this board for months. You appeal to God to justify oppression. I am appealing to God to remind you, justice has eyes, and every single one of them is open tonight, because this is not about politics. This is not about neutrality. This is not about budgets or process or semantics. This is about power. Who has it? Who is afraid of losing it? And who is willing to weaponize ignorance to keep it? I am not here to whisper. I am not here to smooth your egos. I am here to speak plainly, directly, and with the full weight of my lived experience and professional expertise. The public deserves to know exactly what has been happening, and tonight you will. Before we go any further, we must name the truth plainly, because silence is how rot spreads, and light is how we disinfect a system. Tonight, we shine a light on the 7 trustees on this board. 6 of them are white women, and 3 of them, Christy Morgan, Olga Hodges, and Marie Coffey, have spent the last 9 months waging a coordinated conservative campaign against the district's strategic plan, against equity, against intellectual freedom, and against the professionals hired to do this work. And tonight, we are going to tell the truth about what they have done. Let us start with the basics. Every single member of this board has had access for months to the strategic planning process, the community surveys, the presentations, the advisory committees, and the data collected from thousands of your neighbors. All of it public, all of it transparent, all of it delivered by experts from Point North Consulting and Group 4 Architecture, firms with decades of experience in research, design, planning, and civic engagement. But instead of listening, instead of learning, instead of doing their due diligence as trustees, these three women have shown us again and again what happens when personal insecurity meets public authority. They questioned the legitimacy of your community feedback. They challenged the professional expertise of architects, researchers, technologists, and librarians. They misunderstood their role as trustees and attempted to substitute their personal discomfort for process and data. And when the evidence did not confirm their worldview, they escalated. They began looking for angles, loopholes, semantics, anything they could twist into a justification for their resistance. This is how white fragility behaves in governance, not with slurs, not with burning crosses, but with obstruction disguised as oversight, with doubt disguised as prudence, with delay disguised as inquiry, with politeness used as a shield for control. But it didn't stop there, because white fragility rarely stays micro. At our August meeting in Goldendale, the consultants presented a comprehensive snapshot of the community feedback. And what did we witness? Christy Morgan fishing for data points that validated her personal opinion. Not data that reflected the community, not trends, not patterns, but confirmation bias, masquerading as stewardship. And while she was doing that, Olga Hodges questioned the use of Post-it notes, a foundational tool of user-centered design, revealing a stunning lack of understanding of the very processes she claims to evaluate. Let me pause here because this part matters. The Post-it note is not a toy. It is not a decoration. It is a globally recognized technique for affinity mapping, used by UX designers, researchers, engineers, architects, and consultants across every major industry. Zoom uses it, Disney uses it, tech startups use it, libraries use it, and this district used it because it works. But ignorance speaks loudly when confidence is misplaced. And when white fragility meets unfamiliar methodology, the first instinct is to undermine what they do not understand. This pattern continued. Olga Hodges repeatedly refers to our executive director, Jennifer Giltrop, as Jen, a name she does not use, a name she has never used, a name Jennifer has politely corrected. This is not an accident. This is not harmless. This is not benign. This is a textbook microaggression. It is dominance disguised as familiarity. It is the erasure of identity through casual disrespect. It is the first step in coercion. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. But the macro came soon after. At our November meeting, Christy Morgan launched a public attack on the concept of equity itself, claiming the word was not neutral enough. Then she targeted the budget for the consultants, implying misuse, despite months of documentation, presentations, and transparent accounting. This is not oversight. This is obstruction. This is white fragility with a microphone. And behind closed doors in meetings the public does not attend, Marie Coffey added her own contribution, telling the consulting team and the advisory committee, we need to make sure we are getting our money's worth, as if the work presented for 9 months had not been thorough, professional, or valid, as if the expertise in the room needed her permission to be credible, as if the community's voice, thousands of voices, your voices, was not enough. Here's the truth they do not want spoken aloud. They do not question the process because the process is flawed. They question the process because the process did not give them the world they wanted. They do not want equity. They do not want inclusive language. They do not want community voice. They want comfort. They want control. They want the illusion of neutrality that protects their status quo. And when the data reflected a district that is diverse, changing, multi-ethnic, multilingual, LGBTQ+, economically varied, intellectually curious, and proud of it, they panicked because the district does not look like them. And so they tried to change the plan instead of changing themselves. Make no mistake, white fragility is currently infecting this board of trustees, and infection spreads when it is not treated. So tonight, the treatment begins. I want to tell you a story that every librarian knows, a story that every trustee is supposed to understand, a story about what happens when you betray the most sacred principle of public libraries, the right of every person to access information without judgment. Years ago, when I was a reference librarian, a woman approached my desk asking for help placing an interlibrary loan request. For those unfamiliar, this is when a library borrows a book from somewhere else in the world because it isn't held in the local collection. The book she wanted was Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler's autobiography. Now, in a world governed by fear or fragility, a librarian might recoil. A librarian might judge. A librarian might say, why on earth would you want that? But that is not what librarians do. Our job is not to police curiosity. Our job is not to gatekeep difficult material. Our job is not to determine who deserves access and who does not. Our job is to uphold the principle of intellectual freedom, not when it's easy, not when it's comfortable, but especially when it is not. So I ordered the book. Without hesitation, without judgment, without projecting fear onto a patron who simply wanted to understand the forces that collapse democracies. As I searched the global catalog, the woman grew visibly uncomfortable. She finally whispered that she felt she needed to explain why she wanted the book. I told her, "You never owe me an explanation for your curiosity." She exhaled with relief and told me she was reading through a list of historically significant works to understand how fascism takes root in a society, how everyday people become complicit, how democracies erode, how freedoms crumble one principle at a time. That moment in librarianship taught me something essential. Democracy doesn't die in sweeping gestures. Democracy dies in quiet erosions, in small compromises, in semantic edits, in the removal of a word like equity because it makes someone uncomfortable. If you erase the word equity, you erase the mechanism that ensures every patron can use their library. If you erase intellectual freedom, you erase the obligation to protect access for all. Not just the comfortable, not just the majority, not just the homogeneous few. And if you do that in a library, you might as well turn the lights off and chain the doors shut, because a library without equity or intellectual freedom is not a library. It is a vending machine for the dominant class. This is not theoretical. This is not abstract. We are watching it happen in real time across the country. And now it is happening here. When you swap terms like equitable access for individual access, you are not neutral. You are not simplifying. You are not depoliticizing. You are dismantling the very principle that ensures a queer teen can check out a book safely. An immigrant can learn English without shame. A homeless neighbor can use a computer. A disabled patron can attend a board meeting through Zoom. A patron of any political belief can research whatever they wish. Equity is not a buzzword. Equity is the scaffolding of a functioning democracy. When you remove it, the collapse has already begun. So when trustees say, is this word too political? Is this word concept too divisive? Is this phrase too progressive? I ask you, divisive to whom? Political for whom? Uncomfortable for whom? Because the pattern is clear. People who have always been centered feel attacked the moment they are asked to share the center. And that discomfort, that white fragility, becomes the justification for rolling back the rights of everyone else. This is how communities lose their freedoms, not all at once, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, procedurally, politely, strategically, through edits, omissions, redefinitions, and concerns that pretend to be neutral. And one day you wake up and ask, how did we get here? I'll tell you how. You lost your democracy in meetings exactly like this one. So what does a community do when democracy is being nibbled to death by polite, performative, just asking questions fragility? What do we do when 3 trustees, Christy Morgan, Olga Hodges, and Marie Coffey, mistake personal discomfort for public duty? What do we do when the loudest voices in the room are the ones trying to shrink the world instead of expanding it? We get loud. We get louder than the whisper campaigns, louder than the coded language, louder than the microaggressions stacked like sandbags against progress, louder than the fear pretending to be neutrality, louder than the fragility clogging up the gears of this board. This district is bigger than them. This district is more diverse than them. This district is braver than them. Our consultants have shown us who we really are over the last 9 months. We are a district full of Black, Brown, Asian, Pacific Islander, Indigenous, queer, immigrant, refugee, disabled, working class, creativity rich, multilingual human beings who believe in the radical idea that everyone deserves access to knowledge. And guess who else believes that? The staff. Nearly 100% of library employees participated in the strategic planning process, an unheard of number in civic research, and they overwhelmingly affirmed equity and intellectual freedom as the values they stand behind. The people doing the work, they understand what the work is, but the trustees resisting this plan, they are insulting the staff, undermining the process, disrespecting the experts, and misrepresenting you, the community that voted for a levy lid lift by a massive margin because you already told us who you want to become. So if you're sitting here tonight wondering, what can I do? Oh God, how do I help? What difference can I make? Let me tell you exactly what you do. You show up. You keep showing up. You attend the meetings. You watch the recordings. You bring a friend next time. You write to trustees@fvrl.org. You tell them what this district actually values. You tell them you see what is happening. You tell them you will not allow fragility to drown out democracy. You do not need permission to defend your library. You do not need credentials to demand equity. You do not need to be a librarian to know oppression when you see it. They are loud because they are few. You are quiet because you are many. And tonight, the silence ends. Because when a community speaks with one voice, there isn't a board in this country that can withstand it. There are members of this board, and everyone here knows exactly who they are, who have been clinging to the illusion that their personal discomfort should shape your public policy. They wrap it in politeness. They wrap it in procedure. They wrap it in a thin veil of concern. But peel back the wrapping, and what you find is the same thing that has threatened marginalized communities for generations: a fear of losing control, a fear of sharing power, a fear of equity, a fear of freedom for people unlike themselves. They appeal to God to justify oppression, but I am appealing to God for something different, to remind you that justice has eyes, and it sees exactly what is happening here. There are members of this board who will be on the right side of history when we vote to approve the strategic plan. I sincerely hope that Christy Morgan, Olga Hodges, and Marie Coffey find the courage to be on the right side of history, because if they do not, if they continue to attack equity, if they continue to undermine intellectual freedom, if they continue to misrepresent this community and disrespect the staff who serve it, then may their God have mercy on their souls, because I certainly wouldn't want to be like them, and neither would most of the people in this room. Thank you.
You spelled my name wrong. Well, I think it's important right now, please have order, that we talk about how trustees get to the board. Trustees are appointed by the communities in which they live. They're appointed by the city council, county council, who are voted in by, why is this echoing? I'm not sure, who are voted in by the communities. This board has more diversity. Thank you. More diversity of thoughts than the people who are in this room tonight. So I would encourage you all to get out in the community and not just focus on the people who are speaking tonight. We talk about who was surveyed. There were 2,000 people surveyed. The community is humongous. I find it interesting that you all want to ignore everyone who's not here. I don't think that's the way we do it. A mission, vision, and values should be easily defined, understood, and neutral. You know, we're, like I said earlier, we're saying that we want a lot of the same things, whether, no matter how we word it. So I think that was, you know, you've been waiting a long time to say some of that stuff. So I'm glad that you got it out. But this community is bigger than just 2,000 people surveyed. So we can't ignore the whole rest of the community just because people don't like it.
I've had my hand up for a minute.
Oh,
I have a few things I'd
Megan,
like
go
to say. Yeah, sorry that I wasn't able to be there in person tonight. I am on vacation, but yeah, I just want to say I'm one of the trustees also appointed by the City of Vancouver, and I've lived and worked in Vancouver for more than 51 years, so I feel like I know the community pretty well. I've also worked for FVRL as the library staff person. I worked there from 1990 to 2013. I worked at almost every branch and several of the bookmobiles. And I was trained in library practices and theory and principles by the staff and librarians of FVRL. And I think I just want to say I'm really proud to represent our entire community. And part of that as a librarian is upholding the basic principles of equity and intellectual freedom and access and confidentiality for all of the members of the library district. And I really do believe that every library patron should have the right to seek and access information freely without censorship. And as a trustee, I uphold FVRL policies. And those policies state that children should be guided by the values of their parents or guardians and not by the values of library staff, which often aren't the same. And so I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to offer my support of this incredible public service as a volunteer. And I'm going to continue to strive to responsibly honor the voices of the community. And I hope everyone has a really restful and joyous holiday season. Merry Christmas.
I have a short comment. I wasn't ready for the big one, but I just want to mention that I remember time when we paid for internet by hours.
Pull the microphone a little.
Yeah. I remember time when we had internet and paid by hours. The internet and all the access that our children have, it's completely different what we have. It's completely different what we grew up with. There is not so much research done what brain experience and how it influences us and how it influences our kids. If we look at the things like restriction for the driving license, restrictions for the recreational drugs, restrictions for alcohol, for different things, we don't feed babies by steak. We smelled it today. Because it's harmful. We don't have knowledge how internet and how all of the things that are available to our kids influencing them. We should take consideration and look in those researches and it's gonna take time. And we should think about our next generation, and we are responsible for that. It's easy to decide and say this is censorship or this is this and that and label it now. But we are responsible for the next generation. Let's just think about them.
Any other comments? Oh, go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
No, I've made mine. I thought you had one.
I'm just disappointed in the lack of professional exchange here, the name calling. I think we all want best for what is our library here. We all are invested in our library. I'm just greatly disappointed in how this is being handled. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed about all the racist comments that were made tonight. And I wanted to let you know, Mary, I'm not white, actually. And, you know, I'm grateful that you expressed everything that you wanted to express. I'm disappointed that your microaggressions, you know, we're not calling any of that out. None of us ever got feedback from you of any sort of concern before. And I hope you would understand that you're always welcome to engage, you know, within the bylaws. But yeah, I agree with, you know, what was expressed about the lack of professionalism here. But I also really admire and stand up for people that like that for people to be able to say what they really want to say. And so I'm glad we got to hear what you had to say. And I hope that we can consider some next steps. And if there are aggressions that people are experiencing, please, by all means, express them. Jennifer, I apologize. Did not know Jen was offensive to you. I've never heard that before. And if I missed it, I apologize. That was definitely not an intentional aggression or undermining of anything. As someone that was responsible for hiring you, I just am always truly really grateful that we made the choice with you. So anyway, I am wrestling a tired toddler, so I will end it here.
Mary Ann, I just want to make sure you have an opportunity. I know sometimes you're trying to talk and we can't hear you, so I can't hear you. So I'll give you a second if you wanted to say anything.
I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yes.
I'm just listening to some very different opinions. I have a very loyal belief that libraries are very important, and and that we have a role to fulfill in our community and serving that community's needs. We're very different communities. We're going from a very urban Clark County to very rural Skamania County, and so it's not an easy role that our library board has to play and meet those needs. And I think that we need to just proceed, but when you have an issue, bring it up. Then it shouldn't be a personality issue. It should be, what do you want done differently? That's our role. Are we doing the best job for this library system?
Thank you. On that note, is there a motion to adjourn the December 15th, 2025 meeting?
So
No?
moved.
You want to say? Oh, okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any objections? Motion to adjourn the December 15th meeting is approved. So our next meeting is on Monday, January 26th at 6 p.m. at the Vancouver Community Library. Thank you all for coming and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.